Andy, what's going on this Tuesday?
All right, thank you, Scott. Hello, Andy. Hello, everybody. Well, happy Tuesday.
Hey, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, all right. Well, welcome to the Trade of the Week, my weekly reminder that 7 days can fly by so quickly. But nonetheless, here we are with a whole fresh new set of things to look at, and we'll get started. Just a reminder that Andy and myself, being employees of Trade Ideas and also trading our own accounts, we've got our own opinions, but they're not necessarily intended to be financial advice. And those are our own opinions. And so please do not construe the things we talk about as giving financial advice, because that's not what we're doing here. We're just kind of giving our 2 cents about what we see and trying to help you guys use the platform the best you can. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today. Just a reminder, it takes a few days to really kind of get your sea legs, so to speak, in Trade Ideas. It's a very rich product. And some of the ways we are able to do that are primarily the live trading room, visually demonstrating things to help. Works much better than the phones, but every single day Barry shows up, opens up his live trading room for free, and the content and the things they're in there and the things they're tuned into and trading on really does rival that of a lot of paid rooms out there. I'm sure people that are there agree with exactly what I'm saying, but my point is it's a great place to really get the learning curve shortened, get what you need to learn. Barry's very generous with his time if you just ask him. And when he's not there, one of the 5 or 6 of us will take over on the afternoon sessions every day, noon Eastern. We'll grab the live YouTube live stream and kind of take it in our own direction and whatever direction you want to go. And our support staff reminds our users many times every 24 hours you can come back in and ask for a demonstration on something you need help with. And that's the primary reason we're there. And if you don't know how to get there, the bottom link there, trade-ideas.com/live is what we call a redirect. That will take you directly to the live stream YouTube page. And then once you've watched 1 or 2, the YouTube algorithm knows you like us, and they'll always serve that up for you on your YouTube dashboard. All right. Just a reminder, human and machines combined are really where we are in the world right now, and Trade Ideas tries to fill the need of the machine side with our platform. And we get a lot of questions, especially lately. There's a lot of newcomers to the market for whatever reason, and they just want to know, well, what's the best thing I can do to make money? And that's a very difficult question to answer, and it's almost impossible to answer because that can change very quickly. There's just no one right thing where we say, if you came in and you did this and you bought here and you sold here at this time of day every day, you're going to be fine. If somebody's trying to tell you that, they're trying to part you from probably some subscription money, because that's not the case. So we try to use the platform of Trade Ideas to constantly stay in tune with what's going on in the market. And that's one of the reasons Andy and I kind of treat the Tuesday webinar the way we do, to try and see what's going on out there, what looks in play, how can we use this product to help us do it better. And again, to my original point, there's no one right answer to that question. I'm a swing trader, Andy's a swing trader. We used to be scalpers. We used to be a different swing trader than we were 5 years ago. We're constantly evolving. So there's no one right answer for every person, because making money in the market, or I should say trading in itself, is not a science. If it was, again, we'd have that equation you could follow and you'd be great, but then we wouldn't have a real market. Trading is an art form, and asking somebody what works for them might not always be the right thing that works for you. So it's up to you guys really to figure out your time horizons, your level of patience, your level of risk comfort, things like that, and slowly back yourself into a trading strategy or a method, if you will. We've got a lot of guys here that work for Trade Ideas now, and we talk on a traders thread, which I'll allude to a little bit more later. But there's many different styles, and so that's just kind of a microcosm of what's going on out there. I diverged a little bit there, but just want to drive the point home that it's a symbiotic relationship, the human being and the machine, or in our case, the platform of software, giving us the curated data in real time to help us do our best at what we try to do. All right, so today, following the formula as usual for the most part, I'll do a little market recap. AI was rather quiet but effective today. Andy's probably got some thoughts on that. The trade of the week, just like last week, but worked better at least. We'll get into that on the onset, meaning it triggered correctly on Monday. But it's hanging in there. We'll talk about that. We got some thoughts on that. And then the new scan, you know, try to always insert something in the Tuesday webinar that is of value. And, you know, I'll talk about something that kind of came to mind this morning when I thought about, you know, what to talk about in that 8-minute segment. You know, we always try to fill with something different every week. So got something to talk about there. And then we'll finish off as usual looking at the sector ETFs. We can always find at least 2 or 3 very interesting ETFs as a group that look ready and ripe for some action tomorrow. So we'll go through those, and then as I go through those, you guys can feel free to send me in your chart requests, and we always end on what it is you guys want to look at. Myself and Andy will give you the unvarnished, unbiased truth on what we really see on those charts, and so that can be beneficial many times. All right, so let's get into the webinar. For those of you that were with Jamie and myself yesterday, not a whole lot has changed as usual. The market continues the bouncing upward ball. Let's clear that out a little bit better. And one thing that did catch my eye is the average volume there, that line for the most part. We are very much below average volume, and we are what we would call in the low volume summer grind. The low volume grind higher here in the S&P. And as mentioned last week and the week before, a lot of the action seems to just kind of rotate between the NASDAQ, S&P 500, and then maybe the Russell 2000 will come in there and throw in a good day. But for the most part, remember, guys, we do have a big event tomorrow. I guess it's a big event, but it's the FOMC. They're probably going to come out and do the same thing they always do and try and convince us that the inflation we're seeing is not on their radar, and if it is, it's transitory and it'll be moving through. So pay no attention to that big inflationary number in the room, the CPI of over 5% in May. And the producer price index just came out today. I believe it was a 6.5%, even better. So big one. That's all going to come out of the other end of the pipeline. I don't know how they can keep denying it, but tomorrow should be interesting. If you're a Fed watcher, likely they're not going to do anything to try and upset the boat. So there'll be a little bit of wild gyrations around 2 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see how the market finishes. And maybe they say something unexpected and gives the market a hint, but for now, we're just continuing to play and have to play the backdrop of the low volume grind higher. Not a whole lot of volatility there, just a grind higher. Let's look at the NASDAQ, which I believe put in an all-time high yesterday. So after you put in an all-time high and breakout, the market action these days with the algos, they like to reverse it. So no follow through. It expended a lot of energy if you look at it this way. NASDAQ expended a lot of energy from that low point up to the all-time high yesterday. It's likely to just go ahead and give us a breather over there. And then interesting, the IWM, the Russell 2000, had what I call a stick save. It looks kind of like our trade of the week too, actually, but that's very healthy. This is many times why I say pay attention to the closing price, because during the day, especially in the morning, the price action will try to get you out. Yes, this is below the key moving average that I constantly talk about, but remember, I always say I want to see how the candle closes. That's always easier said than done in moments of volatility and sheer panic and fear if you're losing money. But if you're able to, wait for those decisions to the end of the day. So it looks like to me the Russell 2000, got ahead of itself back here. It's been consolidating nicely. I kind of expect, the small caps to maybe have a decent day tomorrow. That's an interesting looking closing candle, stick save, nice pennant formation on the moving averages there in the IWM. How close are we to, all right, so I'll just draw that just for the fun of it. Likely that's going to be in play maybe this week. Candles take that out, and then it'll maybe do what the NASDAQ did, rinse, repeat, pass the baton, and before you know it, we're just moving higher on light volume across the board. But that's where we are in the bigger picture. Anything else notable out there, you think, Andy, for the market recap?
Yeah, I think if as you're looking at the major indices here, it's really kind of easy to see the big picture, but boy, underneath it's really not that way. And unless you're in an index fund or a mutual fund that has it, the spread out. I mean, take a look. I want to take a look at a few here. Look at the XHB, which a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks
We
ago
said,
was all time. Now it's breaking down. I mean,
we
look at
told you back here,
yeah,
it looked horrible. Or maybe
right.
it was right here, actually, last
Yeah.
week. It was looking terrible.
And now look at XLB. Remember how the materials were so hot for a while? Now they're trying to hold on to their 50 moving average for 2 days now. I mean, at the big picture, it's not getting killed, but the point I'm making is it's really tough to stay in individual stocks and expect the same outcome as you're seeing in the major indices. So unless you're really good at rotating with it, like right now, oil is holding up the S&P pretty much, and
How about that
uh,
one? You've been having
yeah.
fun with that one.
Oh, well, I luckily I got out when I did. I actually made some decent money on it, taking money on those wicks. But yeah, and I got my last half this morning, even before it took out yesterday's low. I could just feel it coming. But yeah, there's
Look at that
there.
200-day, 200-day.
Yep.
What was once support
Well,
broke
yep.
down and then
And
became
now it's
resistance.
resistance.
So you can see how the 200-day moving average, whether you like it or not, price action does seem to pay attention to it as a pivot
Hmm.
line occasionally. Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, with oil just keep rocketing higher and these alternative energy stocks rolling over again. It's boy, I'm beginning to wonder if we'll ever see a Green New Deal, Steve. But the oil money's just too strong, man. Too many strong lobbyists.
Well, our trade of the week this week is kind of an energy EV play, BLNK, but we'll get to that when
Well,
it comes
yeah,
done.
but yeah, we got real lucky with the or you did with the, I think, with the Russell 2000 ad. So
Yeah, and there was some
very
other
fortunate.
news in this today. We won't get ahead of ourselves, but
Yep.
yeah, there was some
No,
other
that's it.
news today regarding infrastructure and charging stations. But we play price action, not what the PR
No,
words tell
that's
us.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So
All
if
right,
you want
I'll
to take
grab
it
it.
over.
All right. What I do like about Holly lately is with this action we're seeing in the market the last few days, she hasn't been spitting out very many alerts at all, which is that's what I like to see. Instead of just throwing a bunch of stuff to the wall and see which sticks. This is the kind of stuff I like to see when you have this kind of doldrums that we're in right now. And I want to point out today, it's a very important topic because everybody gets, when it comes to an AI, when it comes to algos, you get too caught up in just the data. I mean, obviously the data is going to what's kind of moves it as far as the overall numbers. But we have always uh, spoken of the AI as idea generation, much like a lot of our really good alerts. And I'm going to go over the stocks that were called today and just kind of give you an idea. If you would just, because I see this all the time, if you would just look at some of these trades as an idea, you're going to find out that many of them will just get stopped out, wicked out, and they'll continue to go in the direction from whence the call came. So first one, let's get off. This was just a great call this morning. Sage, right from the get-go, breakdown through lows, uh, relative volume, 22. It's a biotech, so it's probably, I don't know, it's probably some news driven. Doesn't like earnings came out, so obviously it's probably a FDA ruling or something, who knows. But beautiful breakdown, never any pain, just all day long, beautiful trade. But I want to move on to the next one, which I thought both of these were great calls. I mean, one was called pullback long and one was called breakout long. The first one, breakout long, and there was your signal right there and right as it went through highs. And what happens is you get this immediate, reversal, tags the stop, and basically doesn't look back until, obviously, I'm sure what happened on the close there, but that just, that did kill the numbers in the second one. But the second one was actually a target hit. But anyway, still, if you look at that chart, there's a nice little reversal there. Unfortunately, you did have this drive down. We do stop out. It's calculated in our back office as a loss, stop out loss. But boy, if you're just taking it as an idea and, you know, maybe cut back your size so you're not getting wicked out immediately on some of these trades, because I'm seeing a lot of really good trades, guys, that you just get these stupid wicks, you know, out of nowhere, drive downs, and they'll stop you out. And really, you know, you're only looking at a 20-cent drop there. So that was pretty tight anyway. So getting back to the point, you know, take it as an idea. We had a second call in it, which was actually a buy a little bit higher, no, a little bit lower, I'm sorry. And nice trade there, did fall off on the end, but after it, you know, was, gosh, what, almost $2 in gain. That's a heck of a percent. This one right here was kind of the same thing. This was from a strategy called the Anvil, you know, a nice little short there. Now, it really didn't give up that much, you know, not a whole lot of meat here. But once again, look at the wick going up there. Didn't even take out the high, I don't believe. Or maybe it did by a penny. But nonetheless, you know, what is that, 86 to 98? I mean, Steve, we're talking about a 12-cent stop here. I'm not sure. So if I'm looking at these calls, guys, I am taking these stop losses with a grain of salt. I am going to size my position to where I can let it work for me, because once again, there is some really good calls here. And I thought this BGS was a really great long right here. Right off the get-go, and this one didn't come down to the stop. This is more like you would anticipate, and you did have about $1 to the upside until it ran right into this wall right over here. And this is when I get back to, you know, you as a trader, okay, man versus machine, man and machine, just like Steve was showing you that slide. You had a nice little move here. And if you can't let a stock go in your favor for a buck, run into a little bit of wall over here, and then let it retrace and get out for this much of a loser, by no means, and let it stop you out. So if you just take these things as ideas, guys, and manage them, I think you're going to do a lot better, and try to give yourself, you know, enough size where you can give a little wiggle room around the stop price, because I'm seeing that a lot lately. And it's just not as easy as, well, why don't you always adjust your stops? I mean, we could, but that's not my call. But anyway, take it as an idea and trade it from there. Steve, that's about it. One great call today. That Sage was a beauty, that's for sure.
Well, that Janus, I'll call it JNT, it was a nice one too.
It was.
We'll expand on that a little bit here in a minute.
Okay. You gonna grab it? Okay.
Yeah, grab it. Okay, so let's talk about the trade of the week. Again, a small handful of ideas, and I mean, I'm kind of glad that this was the one that was selected this time. As mentioned in the email, had our eye on this one for a little while, simply because of the short float. Let me just go back to it. It's not on there at the moment, but it was on the scans for the A table, dialed up with short float, and the real, you know, compelling data points are only 36 million in the float, which makes it kind of wacky. And of that 36 million, the last reported, could be less, could be the same, who knows, but 37% of those people are holding short positions. So when the stock starts to go up, they're losing money and they're in pain. The only way to stop the pain is to buy the stock back. And as we've known, whether it's AMC or some of the other runners, the short float game is in full force out there. People understand it now. The retail traders, the Reddits, Wall Street bettors, they get it, they love it, and they're always looking for the next one. So that's in the back of our mind. But the stock never really quite set up, you know, it always was, you know, doing its own thing. But finally, this week, boy, we got a beauty. That to me is just a beautiful setup. On its own merits right there, with the 1, 2, 3, 4 days of pullback and a beautiful kiss right there of the 10-day moving average, which is sloping up. And as you can see, it fought its way through the 50 here, fought its way through here. This was its nice breakthrough move into clean air, nice pullback, a perfect spot at which to take a swing entry. I'll do that all the time. Not to mention, another thing I kind of liked is the bigger picture here. We weren't buying blank like, you know, some of the other trade of the weeks of the past, like up here that might have worked, but we forget that they've come from so far, from so long, and they break down quickly. We had a few of those, and we're trying to learn from those. So what we saw here is one that stabilized. Oh, look, it bounced off its 200-day moving average. But in the bigger picture, what I kind of see was this, a real nice break of that trend supported by the 200-day. And as I said, once it closed above here, it was in clean air. It was just a matter of giving us a good timing on the jump rope to call it. And so we did. And yesterday, there was a big move right on the open. And this move took us almost up 8 or 9%. Now, I'm going to tell you, let me just see. I'll look on my desktop here real quick. Blink, there it is. Okay. So this was in another account that we trade, and I just thought I would screen grab it because I wanted to drive a point home yesterday. The first point was I looked over and I realized I bought a little bit too much of this one, and it was a bit more than my liking. And so I was very keen to take 1/3 off very quickly. And you'll see this sell tag right here on that sell line. 1/3 of the trade came off right there. Why did I take 1/3 of the trade off so quickly? Well, one, I was in too much. And two, we had a really nice push on the open here. That was the open yesterday, right up into prior resistance of that red candle there. So, when you have big moves like that and you got a bit more than you thought you were going to get, it's always a good idea to maybe take a little off, lighten the load a little bit. And I'm glad that I did that when I was thinking about it, because that seemed to have worked out okay, got more into the position size that I really wanted to in the first place, and got a little bit off for profits. But this is another great example of what Andy and I have been talking a lot about lately. There are some wild movements out there. The S&P can pull back quickly 0.5% midday, and some of your stocks pull back 4% just for no good reason. And funny enough, the pattern here, the candlestick pattern, Andy and I kind of coined this. We call this the propeller hat. It just looks like the old beanie hat that slow kids used to wear. It had a propeller spinning around on the top. Or maybe this is the NBA rebounder, where you jump up and grab the ball, throw an elbow here to this end, throw an elbow here to this end, and you got your ball, but there's no real change in price. There's a lot of noise out there, a lot of wicks. And then again, BLNK Blink did what I hoped it would do, and always wait till the end of the day to see what it is going to do, and that was a close back above the rising 10 here. So I hate it when stocks do this, and I tell you, this is, Andy, you're going to agree with me. I know when we start seeing these propeller hat patterns on back-to-back candles, it's usually a very difficult market. This doesn't happen when things are moving in the direction that we can kind of peg and gauge and get a feel for. This is it's just chaos. It's just 2 days of back-to-back elbows. Now, the trade is still intact. We're basically just, 10, 15 cents under, for the most part, the entry point, which was given pretty easily yesterday on the open. So we'll just see what happens from here. It's encouraging that wick is down there in the bottom and kicked the price back above the 10-day moving average. But I think you can't go wrong when you get a big push in one direction to just take a quarter off, take a third off, take something off, because it's so dang hard to get things to follow through in this market right now. It really is. When things break out, they don't tend to want to follow through. A couple other thoughts. I did often, as I said, put some additional names down there. It's always kind of fun to see what they did. And I'll tell you, the first one, STLD, I thought looked great. If you go back 2 days, that's what it looked like. But honestly, the trigger, would have been something like right about there. That would have been a no trigger trade on that one. SKLZ was another one I thought I liked. Okay, beautiful. Look at nice push, almost like our trade here in Blink. Nice push higher, broke above the declining 50. Typical pullback consolidation, but kind of like our car guru trade last week, just broke right through. So in this one, the trade would have been probably set there, something along those lines, and that would have turned into a no trade, no trigger. Another one that I liked, I think it had nice short float. Yeah, 22% short float was eyes, and eyes looked like that 2 days ago, and it's kind of hanging in there. Had a good day yesterday, but it's another short flow play on a very small thing. So if you haven't seen eyes, you might want to put that on your radar. That one's kind of interesting. But again, beautiful day yesterday, give it all back today. And it's just, it doesn't get any much harder than this right now. What else was on there that I thought was interesting? One more was Sabre. And Sabre looked like that 2 days ago, and probably trigger would have been on something like a new high. Oh, that one would have triggered, and yeah, that's nasty. See how they're doing that? They trigger and then they reverse
Seeing
on
it all
us.
the time, man. Yep.
And seeing it way too much, way more than I like to. Which is a great segue into what is going to be a little fresh content here this week. You know, when I first started trading, Dan asked me back in 2003, you know, what I really want to see, and this was a pattern that worked really well. It was called the false gap up retracement, and it essentially, let's get that in. False gap up retracement, stock gap up, fill the gap, and then we don't get the alert until it gets back to highs. Well, you know what? This thing was awesome in 2003, 2004, 2005. But then the algorithms kind of came into town 2007, 2008 and started creating these propeller hat wicks and these reversals and doing the kinds of things that old school trading price action didn't do, kind of like this Sabre here, threatened to break out and then just crushed the spirits of everybody who thought they could buy that breakout. So that's an alert, an event, that false breakout. I call it the horseshoe. That's really on the shelf. It hasn't worked well in years. I don't use it because I don't day trade anymore. And I always thought, boy, it'd be really nice if we could see some of those things maybe a little earlier. And then as it was, you know, I was listening to Andy on last Friday on his noon session. Some of you might have been there. And somebody was asking for, you know, a simple kind of a setup on stocks that are strong and showing good volume and up on the day. But, you know, maybe we can find them after they've had a pullback and then starting to move back up. And Andy had kind of a good solution, and he pulled it out of his cloud. And we're going to talk about this one today, and maybe how we can utilize it a little better. The very first thing I want to highlight here, this is the history today of this. Let's just first take a look under the hood so we know exactly what this thing is kicking out. So a new 15-minute high, that's the key of, you know, trying to find something that might be up on the day, pulled back, and then trying to move higher. A new high on the day will just give us new highs, but a new 15-minute high might give us what we're looking for more midday. And then filters, okay, position and range. This is really the nuts and bolts of it. If 0 is today's low and 100 is today's high, we're only going to see new 15-minute highs in the 60 to the 85th percentile of today's range. Hopefully that makes sense. These stocks have to be strong. They got to be up at least 2% on the day. Got to be at least $3 or more. And the relative volume, it's doing 50% more volume than it normally would do. And then in the last 5 minutes, as it's making that new 15-minute high, it's done 3 times normal 5-minute volume candles. So these are stocks that are in play up on the day with good relative volume. They're not at the high of the day, but they've done something, and we're seeing it move back up in the position of this range, the 60th to the 85th percentile of today's range. So that's what we're looking for. And I want to highlight your attention here to the first one that came out that I thought was interesting. Janus, JNCE, the same one that the AI picked up on. But I'm going to give Andy credit because the AI didn't pick it up until 762. The way Andy has this scan set up, 760. How about that? You beat the AI by 2 cents on the early call there on that particular signal. So I thought that was interesting. And again, I'm showing this for people who might be looking to only day trade. Of course, I'm going to share the window, Anna. Anytime we show anything on here of value, we want you guys to use it. So we will certainly share it. I will drop that very shortly. So this is for day traders, you know, maybe something for a 1 hour hold, especially the way Janus traded today. Let's take a look at that. Very nice. Let's see, JNCE, the first one. I'm gonna clear that out because it's got the AI tags in there. And I'm gonna click it from the actual alert. Oh, it still has the tags. Okay. But this one was right around here, just 2 cents below that blue line. You know, the ideas that are going to come from this, they could be nice 1.5, 2 hour holds. I don't know what happened at the close there. That's very frustrating. You can right click
if you want to get rid of those AI tags. Just right click and.
True, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Is it that one? Execution?
No, show AI trades. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So, you know, it looks like for the most part, these are going to be pretty shortly short time frame horizon trades.
Look at that DPW for a day trade. That was a beautiful call, but look how it retraced.
Oh
It's just
man,
nasty.
that's an example of what we've just got going on right now.
Uh-huh.
All right, some of these are too early. I'm going to move past JNCE. Okay, here's another one. So this one's up on the day, showing great volume, beautiful gap up on the open. You're not buying it up here. It's not really a horseshoe, but if this thing opened up here and then came in, and then it would not have alerted me until it made a new high up here. But I think this one's given us just a little bit earlier warnings than the old horseshoe alert might have. There's Janice again. All right, there's another one. There's a good one. So here's CTXR, beautiful, got ahead of itself. You don't want to be the guy who's buying the stocks up here with a lot of green and a lot of airspace between that and the 10 SMA. You're just asking for it if you're buying things with that much separation between you and the SMA. You want to try and buy close to it. So it looks like this one gave us a nice, decent pullback. And for the most part, this $3.10 area, actually it was more, yeah, somewhere in there, moved higher at some point. What else we got on here? Now, I'm also going to say I like these more in the first half of the day. The second half of the day, we can see everything just wants to give it back up. So again, for whatever reason, that one came through. So there's that CTXR again. Anything else on here of interest? A lot of repeats. You can see that as we get towards the end of the day, things might not start to go as well. I tried to back test this. I didn't really have a whole lot of success, but the reason I'm showing you this is because there's another thing I want to point out. One, this is a great starting point, I think, for anybody who's looking to play the action and buy on a pullback. We saw how that is configured and how that could work for your benefit. The second thing was a comment on the back channel from the traders. Barry was also intrigued by Andy's sharing of that, some of the things that were coming through on his Friday session on this I like the odds scan. And Barry said, hey, I want a copy of that, please. And then Barry looked at it, and as it happens many times around here, a second set of eyes gets a pretty good way of maybe making a good adjustment. And Barry's comment was this. I'll show you right now. This is probably something I should do more of myself. We've always gotten hung up on average daily volume. Hey, I want to see stocks that do an average daily volume of at least 200,000 shares a day. Well, what if we cleared that out and said, well, the stock doesn't have to come into today because there are many stocks that might average 150,000 shares a day that are doing something of interest, and we would not see it having our volume expressed in average daily, 10 days in this case. So what we can do, and I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to duplicate that window and just say, well, what would happen if we change this up just a little bit and try to not miss as many things by going into configure and zeroing out the average daily volume and saying volume today, 200,000 shares. So what if we just see 200,000 shares on the tape today? That should be enough liquidity for today. Doesn't really matter what's happened in the liquidity coming into today. And that's the point I want to try and drive home here, that you can do to change things up just a little bit. Now when I do this, let's see if we compare them up right off the bat. I've got a different one, rig. I need to go down and I want to see these so we can see them. All right, so if I go to history today, what do we got here? We got a lot more, it looks like.
More, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot more. So we've opened up a little bit more. I could probably go through and figure out which ones I'm not seeing on this one that I do see on this one. HOLI looks like an interesting one I saw. No, that one's on there too. BLFS. Yep.
Try that.
So, go ahead.
FOA. Try that FOA. See what that looks like. I'm not sure if that was on the other one down about.
That looks good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was. Look, it was earlier too. It was.
Why is that not
around
giving me an
10:39.
arrow? It gave it at a price of. I need to see that one.
10:39. It was coming through. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway,
Got a few more in there.
Yeah, there's definitely a few more, but again, the point I want to drive home here is just a passing comment from Barry made a lot of sense, just to remind us that there's a better way to use that average daily volume, because of course we do want to weed out the things that are look like Morse code on a chart that just don't have the volume. We need volume to participate, but that doesn't mean that the stock had to have had average volume every day coming into today. That's the hang up that some people get, including myself. And so there's a good reminder from Barry. A different way to set your volume is to just use volume today, and you might catch a few more items as we saw on there. So I'm going to close that one. I'm going to share the one here that we updated. I'll
And
put it on real time.
while
Go
you're
ahead.
doing that, I want to add something. Okay, yeah, look at what we have right now. We're starting to see some summer doldrums. There's no news. There's no earnings right now. Okay, there's not a whole lot of news going on right now. So, and also look at the market. Look at what the spies are doing and all they're slopping around. So, this is something you might want to tuck away, and especially during earnings season. I think you would get some really sweet ones coming through here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. It's there are periods in time when there's not a lot of catalysts and earnings.
Sure.
And I just will add again, I think I like the ones that come through like an hour after the open and continue on through maybe the back end of lunch East Coast. When you start to get to that, 2 hours to go left in the day, these setups just, they're not working as well. So, I mean, you guys are welcome to take this. I just dropped it in the chat window there. It's not in the question window, it's in the chat window, and the cloud is there for you to receive. If you're watching this on the recorded version, you can email us at info@trade-ideas.com. We'll shoot out a copy of this modified scan to you. But what I would do is, from here, maybe start back testing and playing around and change the time of day and see if it works best, in the first half of the day. Maybe look at some filters. If the S&P is up, do I play this? Or if the S&P is down, do I not play this in the optimization? It's a whole other can of worms you can open up for all of that. All right, yes, Barry is an insightful dude, David, you are correct. And Anna, there you go, it should be shared. I like the odds. We just mixed that up a little bit. And again, this is for day traders. This is for people who are looking for action. You want a wave to surf for 90 minutes? These might be some good ones. But you're welcome to definitely back test it and see if you can string it out over a couple of days. I'm going to doubt you can because I'm just not finding much out there that we can get to actually follow through for more than a day out there right now. It just seems to be the way. All right, so I'll go ahead and start looking at some sectors here. See if we can find one or two that's in play for tomorrow. And as I do that, you guys can put some symbols in there that you might want us to look at before we bring Scott back in. All right, OIHs. The services are not really the commodity. The commodity you can't stop, but those don't look bad. Be better if they were above that moving average. I haven't looked at these yet, guys, so we're going to look at them together. XLE energy bouncing, rather nicely off its 10-day there. That looks very strong, even though it's strong today. The oil, there's the commodity you just can't stop. And the banks are starting to get a little heavy there on the daily charts and the financials too. They can't really follow through. There's the home builders. Now, I remember telling you guys last week they looked horrible. Maybe even the week before up there too. So HXB home builders can't get out of their own way. Be careful if you're trying to be bullish on those. Brokers. Oh, healthcare looks interesting. Really nice push, very nice consolidation. I think XLV is one you maybe keep an eye on for tomorrow if you know of any healthcare stocks. And if you don't, you can pull up the biggest names there are. Oops, I hate when I do that. And then you could go to the single stock window, similar tab. There it is, the similar tab. You can always find individual names that are in the same sector. But that was XLV healthcare. Yeah, the treasuries. Okay, the spiders, we've talked about those. I'm just going to kind of go through these quick and see if anything catches my eye. Well, we talked about the IWM. I do think small caps are probably going to be in play tomorrow, guys, if the market firms up off that stick save today. So far, energy, healthcare, small caps, gold's not doing a whole lot. There was airlines looked decent 2 weeks ago, but they've fallen and dropped right back into the zone. By the way, what's Love doing? I heard they're having some trouble with their network. Yeah, they're all right. IYR, baffling. Silver. I'm very bullish silver. I'm not going to try and just sell everybody on it, but I'm, absurdly overweight silver. To be more specific, PSLV in my 401k. The PSLE fund is able to back up their physical holdings a lot better than the SLV, which seems to be kind of crazy, and you never know, could be the next Wall Street bets big play. I don't know, but I'm very bullish on silver. Semiconductors, a nice little breakout from consolidation there. Nothing bad to say about them. Gold miners are lagging. I sold one of my gold miners today, Andy. I just couldn't take it anymore. This FSM got me bad back here, and I stayed in it as long as I could. And nope. Oh, another one I got out of, or most of, was at the close yesterday in TGB, all right? When the close looks like this, 4 or 5 days of grinding sideways and the moving averages are curling over, you're just asking for it. And I said, I want out. I want out of 70% of this position. Had a good profit in it, and boy, I'm glad I kind of saw that yesterday. I talk a lot about making decisions at the end of the day, deciding what do I keep and what do I sell. And yesterday, I just said, I'm not going to give this thing another day. These moving averages are just like the Grim Reaper pushing down on it. Getting to the bottom of the barrel here, not seeing a whole lot. SLX, I was kind of bullish last week, but it kind of dipped back into the range. Biotech got ahead of itself. Biotech's consolidating now. Yeah, not much out there. The thing that looks the best to me, quite honestly, is IWM, the XLV, which is healthcare stocks. And then lastly, the energy. Energy's looked pretty good too. So we can always find 3 or so that we think looks good the next day. All right, so let's take a look here for the remaining few minutes, see what we got to look at for charts. Sense, Rig, and SPRD, T for David. So we'll do SES, SENS first. Nice chart, got ahead of itself. Just look to see, Dave, see if you can catch that moment in time. If it picks up that 10-day moving average, and that could be a very interesting level to get in or add to, or don't watch break, one of the 3. Rig, with the OIH is looking strong. It's got a shot, yeah. Oil drilling OIHs, can't really say too much bad about that. It's looking kind of cup and handle-ish there as well. Looks decent. And SPRT, support.com. Looks like it's doing what we talked about, bouncing off that rounded bottom. We talked a lot about that last week. And look, there's that 200-day again. It's miracle how that thing shows up and holds. And then so it broke its for the most, I'll just call it more like that, kind of broke that downtrend there and broke above its 50 there. And now it's just kind of looking for a reason to go sideways. Same kind of a thing. If it picks up that 10-day moving average, it might be the catalyst to springboard it higher. All right, you're welcome, Jessica. So NIO, and Zoom or ZM. Oh, looks like I locked up here. This is for less. Don't forget to watch Mad Money with Jim Cramer. No, I enjoyed watching Rick Santelli take Scott Wapner and Cramer to the woodshed this morning, though. I'll tell you that. I haven't turned on that channel on my TV, but I did see that in social media on that little video clip. That was nice. NIO looks like everything we've been talking about last week with the EVs broke out of that nice range, but it's just kind of looking for a reason to consolidate here. It's showing you it needs to hold that 10 SMA to keep everything intact. So you could be in for another day of pullback on that one. I think this ZM, Zoom Media, was your other one. Really nice week last week. The whole Zoom Media story was the big play back here when COVID hit and everybody discovered it. Now it's kind of harder to gauge. I would keep an eye on the upside. It's probably going to have something to say at that 200-day if it gets up there, but for now it looks like it's just kind of flagging sideways, but very well could test that 200-day moving average above in the near future. Oh yeah, Ride. Boy, that's an interesting one. It's interesting how it came to life before it dropped all that horrible news yesterday. CFO and CEO leaving, and then today they're saying, I promise we have deliverable orders, they're binding. That's the story.
The chart is just
that's the story, but does the chart confirm the story? I can't make sense of the chart, so I don't know. I really don't know. At this point, it seems like a level of trust with those people over there. I don't know. It's a real mess. The first order of business, though, is to get this thing back above that red 20-day moving average and then that flattening 10. But you're going to have to let the price action tell you whether or not to believe those people calling the shots over there now. Good question. X, that's going to be a good one. X was looking so good, and it's still really hanging in there for the most part. Nice reversal candle today. I might even call that that's it for the consolidation. Just 2 solid days of selling. Nice reversal off of the morning drive down, right off the 20-day backstop moving average and back up. Steel was, the sector that looked okay, but it was getting a little wishy-washy, very similar to the X story there. So maybe that's all it needed, was a little pullback, fresh, clean shower and a warm meal for the troops, and they can get that thing going again. And OVN, I believe it is, yeah. It's working off of what it had going last Friday and Monday. I would say that's a pretty crucial level, that 15. It's a high of that candle back there. It was the low yesterday and the low today. 15 seems to be that level you're going to really want to hold. I'll skip forward Nucor because I know we were talking about that one. Same as that steel chart. Those are nice bottoming wicks. This is very typical of like looking. Let me go back in the time machine here. That looks really solid. Let's buy the close. Oh man, they got me out. I should have just waited for that reversal candle right there. And everybody that bought for this breakout here were probably the ones that were selling down here on this drive down. It's just a change of hands. It looks good. I mean, they all kind of look the same over there in the steel. Beyond Meat, taking its sweet time. 200-day moving average definitely seems in play. It's just kind of moving sideways. I don't like the way it closed below. I mean, yesterday, look at that. It had possibility yesterday, for another green push higher, but it didn't. It gave it back and closed back below. So it's just fits and starts over there on that one. How do I scroll the charts to go back in time? I don't use the control key. Right now, I got my hand on the control key to compress time. But when I like to say, let's play the time machine game, like, what did BLNK look like on Friday for me? I'd take my hand off the control key and it allows me to go back in time like that. So it's just a matter of using the control key. I can zoom way out with the control key, but then as soon as I let go of it and scroll the mouse, those 2 candles will come back in. All right, let's see, 2 more and then we'll bring in Scott. No, 3 more, we'll bring in Scott because I do want to talk to Kevin about AMC. AMC is really, really holding up well. And there's people in there that think they've got the key to the whole gamma squeeze coming. And if that's the story, then the chart might be confirming the story on a possible gamma squeeze coming in AMC. A little sloppy test of the 10 SMA down here, but it passed 1, 2, third day above the rising 10 SMA, bouncing as a kind of a trend support. Bit of a wick topping tail, probably to be expected. It took out a 5 or 10 day high there, and those profit takers took some off. But as long as this thing wants to continue to ride the 10 SMA here, the AMC story is intact as far as I'm concerned. A great example of the chart confirming the story there. We'll do box and 10, and then we'll bring in Scott.
Yeah, box looks good. I looked at it earlier.
Oh, that 10 was looking great too. And that's an example of what looked great yesterday in my time machine. You'd expect something like that to do that today. We had a lot of that stuff happening in October, November, December of last year. It's been very hard to find charts that are doing that right now. Good looking chart.
Box.
You might even see some follow through tomorrow. Box trade of the week from 3 weeks ago.
Looking good.
Setting up again, without a doubt. That's setting up again. Nice sideways action and letting this moving average come up. 2 good, those are 2 good ones to end on, you guys. 10 and box, really good. So, in a perfect world, I didn't do it, but if I had saved 1/4 of my trade of the week in box, I'd just be looking at that saying, hey, I got nothing to worry about. Just let that thing make money for me. Sometimes that last bit, that last chunk of a bit of swing trade is the one that can work for you for weeks on end. You never know. All right, that's all I've got, guys. Yep, thank you. Let's bring Scott back in with some announcements, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just a couple items to remind everyone of on the way out. We do have a newish ebook we launched a little while ago. It's got the favorite strategies and indicators from our Director of Software Development, Dave Mabe. If you're familiar with Holly, the AIs, the backtesting module, the odds maker, and Brokerage Plus, he's the guy you can thank. So go ahead and pick his brain by downloading it free at trade-ideas.com/strategy. It's got some good content in there, and I think it's got some cloud links you can use to import into your layouts as well. There's a Trade Ideas podcast. Just search for that phrase in your favorite app and subscribe to it. And check out the episodes we've already released this year. There's some pretty insightful interviews in there, and we're sure to have some more pretty soon. There's a code, Sunshine, saves 15% off any new subscription or upgrade. So if you want to upgrade from standard to premium or go ahead and start a Trade Ideas subscription, just go ahead and apply that on checkout and you will save some money. Steve's got a new handle on Twitter. It's TISteveG. So go ahead and give him a follow there. And we also have @Trade Ideas, @QuantBot, and some other ones, so you can find those. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook handle. So go ahead and like our page, follow it, and share what we post with your friends. info@tradeideas.com is the best place to send any of your questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them there. We're going to have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow and of this session, and you get an email reminder tomorrow about how to find it. So thanks, Steve. Thanks, Andy. Have a nice afternoon.
Yep, we'll see you tomorrow at the noon session.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you on Thursday.